Welcome back to the CryptoFather channel on the 22nd of May. In today's video, I'll be going over an article that talks about South Korea and the tightening rules on crypto here in the nation of South Korea that's already excessively protectionistic when it comes to any aspect of Korean living, the industry, and otherwise. But before I do jump into all those beautiful articles, let's do what we always do and have a quick look at the markets. Presently, the market cap is standing at $3.5 trillion. It's a nice bump. We finally are seeing a movement towards the $3.9 trillion that we were at before it all came crashing down a couple of months ago. $173 billion in trading volume. Bitcoin just smashed a new all-time high, a fraction above the old all-time high, but it is a new all-time high. It's still at $109,000. Ethereum is presently at $2,500. BNB 669, Solana 170, Cardano 78 cents, Meowcoin 3, Litecoin 96, Polkadot $4.73. Quick look at the Bitcoin chart. The all-time high for Bitcoin was 109,430 or 40 something, and now we've got $109,800. So literally by like $400. The all-time high has been smashed. South Korea tightens crypto rules ahead of pro-crypto presidential election. Korea is going to have an election sometime soon, and so right now apparently they are in the process of making things even more difficult for people to acquire cryptocurrencies, to deal with cryptocurrencies. It's virtually impossible for most Koreans to export cryptocurrencies outside of South Korea. They have to have everything set up under their name. Everything is tracked. There is nothing that can be hidden. And that's all for obviously money laundering purposes or just tax purposes in general. South Korea will allow certain nonprofits and exchanges to sell crypto starting June 2025. Now, this doesn't include individuals. So this means that hopefully a rise in exchanges that will make it available, that will allow the sale of cryptocurrencies. Now, in the past, there were a lot of cryptocurrency exchanges in South Korea, a lot more than there are today. Right now, I think there's a monopoly of about 3 or 4, Korebit being one of the worst of them because it affords nothing. While most cryptocurrency exchanges have features like staking and leverage trading, Korebit has none of that. The only thing that they give out is a login bonus on a daily basis. If you log into Korebit, they drop tidbits of additional bonuses, but that's it. So hopefully the number of cryptocurrency exchanges available in Korea will increase once again, and hopefully, maybe, quite possibly, not bloody likely though, some of them will allow non-Korean natives to trade on those exchanges. The institutional crypto clients must undergo stricter KYC and AML, anti-money laundering checks under FSC rules. Presidential candidates back Bitcoin ETFs and a won-based stablecoin amid rising crypto investor influence. Korea is right now running a test CBDC that was launched, I think a month ago, and there's about 100,000 people that are supposed to be field testing the coin. On the 19th, the Chosun Daily released an article, Bank of Korea to launch CBDC pilot for real-world payments. The project Hangang, South Korea to begin a central bank issued digital currency experiment in April with 100,000 participants. Now, there is a new article that just came out May 20th. Bank of Korea pilots digital currency, but what is it like to use? The Bank of Korea last month launched the Project Han River pilot program for its central digital bank currency on CBDC running from April through June. The trial invited 100,000 individuals to test the tokenized deposits, but only about 60,000 participants as of Monday have been participating. The first step involved opening a digital wallet through one of the 7 participating banks, KB, Shinhan, Woody, IBK, and BNK via their mobile apps. After verifying a bank account and linking it to the wallet, users must transfer funds into the wallet, converting cash into tokenized deposits. Participants can hold up to 1 million won in digital tokens at a time. And this is right there an alarming red flag I realize that this is a test, and we all know it's a test, but that's basically what CBDCs would be. It would be an ongoing test that will limit the amount of tokens you'd be able to hold, and even limit the amount of or the places that the tokens could be spent and used, and how they could be used. And so basically just be a complete way of monitoring people's financial activities. Payments are currently accepted at a handful of merchants. This includes 7-Eleven, Kyobo Book Center, Hanaro Mart, and Edia Coffee for in-store options, and Hyundai Home Shopping and Dangyo food delivery apps for online payments. We tested the system at a 7-Eleven, and so at checkout we opened the banking app, tapped the wallet tab, entered the password, selected the QR payment option, entered the password again, and scanned the code through. Though similar to other contactless payments, the process involved noticeable more steps with minor lags and interface delays, making the experience feel clunky. Why would people want to use that when they can use the present banking apps that they have and QR codes that they already have been using for so long so much smoother? Online payments felt more intuitive, working much like other easy payment systems or digital wallets. Overall, while the experience was comparable to existing mobile payments, tokenized deposits felt less preferable due to small but persistent technical hurdles that are hard to ignore in an area of near seamless digital finance. Problem with this is that banks jumped onto it, I think, in a rush. They tried to come up with some clunky solution to online payments for this CBDC, and they botched it up. I mean, it is a first version, so it's still non-functional, not as well as it should, I guess. Not to mention that it is on the blockchain, which could also be a problem, right? After the first phase ends in June, the Bank of Korea plans to conduct system maintenance before launching a second round of testing later this year. The next stage will introduce person-to-person transfers and expand the number of participating merchants. So the question remains, why launch a CBDC at all, especially when digital payments tools are already fast and widespread? CBDCs are expected to benefit governments. That's the main issue. And the broader financial system more than individual users. Absolutely. Issued by the central bank, CBDC is a digital version of cash built on blockchain. It is programmable and traceable, but unlike cryptocurrencies, it is fiat money, fully regulated and anchored to national stability. This is the exact problem with CBDCs in a nutshell. It's programmable, it's traceable, it's controllable, and it benefits mostly governments and banks. CBDCs were, why the idea of CBDCs was concocted was to allow banks and governments to regain control over the monetary supply, because with the emergence of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, all of a sudden governments and banks have found themselves losing control over the money supply, because people no longer require banks. Essentially, they don't longer require governments to be held responsible, and people can transact without those intermediaries. But so CBDCs came up with in order to transfer present fiat system onto the blockchain, but that's essentially what it is. CBDCs would just be fiat on the blockchain, and so the banks and governments are struggling hard to get that back under control. By digitizing transactions, CBDCs can lower costs, streamline transfers, and expand financial access. They also allow governments to distribute emergency and social benefits more directly, avoiding the delays of cash and the complexities of working with financial institutions. For the central bank, the goal goes beyond convenience, and CBDC is seen as a way to future-proof the financial system by preserving access to sovereign money and reinforcing central bank authority in an increasingly digital world. Critics warn that a traceable state-issued currency could enable financial surveillance or restrict how money is used, and of course it would. Of course it would. It's like saying, oh, we won't do it, handshake. Of course it would. Since the launch of the project, petitions opposing CBDC adoption have drawn more than 50,000 signatures on the National Assembly's public petition platform, which is 10,000 shy of the actual people using the CBDC, the test CBDC right now. A Bank of Korea official overseeing the Project downplayed privacy concerns, of course, emphasizing that the current trial involves a wholesale model for interbank use, unlike a retail CBDC where the central bank issues tokens directly to individuals. The wholesale version issues CBDC to commercial banks. That was the initial article that I ever read about CBDCs, the introduction of CBDCs in South Korea, that they were going to be used wholesale. So if banks want to use CBDCs between themselves, that's fine. I think if it speeds up bank transfers and it allows people to receive their money faster, because right now, like when you send money between banks, it could take up to 5 to 7 days. If I send money from South Korea to England, for example, it could take up to a week for the money to be transferred. Why does it take so long is beyond me. But so CBDCs could possibly make such transfers a lot faster, a lot more efficient. And so what banks do between themselves, that's their business. And if CBDCs remain in the realm of wholesale versions, then I think that would not be a problem. The problem kicks in when we are forced to begin using CBDCs on an individual basis because for all the concerns that have been mentioned in this article. So back to our initial article on the Korean tightening of rules. The South Korean government is now implementing stricter anti-money laundering and know your customer rules for cryptocurrencies. The country, however, is set to loosen the rules for institutions investing in digital assets. Makes perfect sense. Make it tighter so you can loosen it up later. The policy, basically, so they're going to loosen, they make it tight for everybody, right? They throw out a bunch of blanket legislations that apply to everybody, individuals and companies. And then, of course, they implement some concessions for big businesses or people with big pockets or their cousins, nephews, and grandfathers, the people who work in the government, because Korea is ripe with fraud and corruption. The policy shift comes as South Korea approaches a closely contested presidential election. All major candidates have supported expanding crypto investment options, including legalizing Bitcoin exchange traded funds and introducing domestic stablecoins. South Korea's Financial Services Commission, a new framework, will reinforce safeguards ahead of the expected increase in institutional participation in crypto. Beginning in June 2025, registered crypto exchanges and certain non-profit organizations can sell crypto assets. Any crypto received in donations by a non-profit can be sold for cash. Exchanges can turn their user-free crypto into fiat currency. Wow, I can just foresee what's going to happen. The non-profits are going to be garnering favors by accepting bribes in the form of cryptocurrencies and then changing them to cash. This is Korea is trying to institute anti-money laundering regulations, and then they're doing this. This is a perfect setup for money laundering from crypto exchanges or from crypto donations to non-profits straight into cash holdings. What a riffraff. What is allowed? A non-profit corporation that is an external audit corporation and meets the requirements of more than 5 years of business experience, virtual assets supported for trading on 3 or more exchanges. A virtual asset exchange that has reported as a virtual asset business operator under the Special Financial Transactions Act, market capitalization of 5 exchanges, top 20 crypto assets. 5 that's like not even a penny. Every transaction with institutional clients will go through additional checks for compliance. Exchanges and their partner banks must assess the origin of funds, transaction purposes, and monitor ongoing activity involving institutions and their leadership. Wow, that's a mouthful. None of it will happen. The Korea Federation of Banks and the Digital Asset Exchange Association are expected to distribute formal instructions by the end of May. South Korea is taking these steps to be in line with global financial standards. The FSC pointed out the role of thorough examination as it can stop money laundering and fraud. The South Korea regulatory agency said publicly listed companies and professional investors, whatever that means, that's essentially individuals who qualify as professional investors, would be welcome to join crypto trading. According to the report, this change is expected to happen in the second part of 2025. Again, what constitutes as professional investors is beyond me, They could be companies that work in the area of investing, or I guess anybody with an investing license would do, I would imagine. But again, it's hard to tell what professional investors what constitutes professional investment. Additionally, the expansion will be introduced with further AML requirements and will include mechanisms for monitoring systematic risks tied to institutional involvement. Recent changes ensure that issuing, distributing, trading cryptos and stablecoins will happen under new, clear guidelines. Part of this effort is the Digital Asset Basic Act, which requires stablecoin issuers to hold reserves and register with the FSC. I'm not aware of any stablecoins that were issued in South Korea other than the late Terra Luna. Maybe they're going to reinstitute USDT and have Terra Luna back on track. The upcoming presidential election scheduled for June 3rd has seen crypto emerge as a central policy issue. Both leading candidates, Lee Jae-myung of the Democratic Party and Kim Moon-soo of the People Power Party, have voiced support for legalizing Bitcoin spot ETFs, more IOU notes on sale. Such products currently banned would enable investors to gain exposure to digital assets clearly. But I personally, would you want to IOUs or actually hold the Bitcoin? So that's what's happening. We may be seeing a few more stable coins being released in South Korea, but that's still under debate. According to this article, some have warned about the possible economic consequence of including stable coins in South Korea's financial system. According to critics, allowing private firms to release stable coins could shift the nation's monetary structure, obviously, because people might be more inclined to begin using stable coins as payments rather than the actual Korean one. And a Coinbase breach hit almost 70,000 users. So Coinbase has had a breach recently, and apparently 70,000 users, up to 70,000 users, could be affected by the data breach, which included the theft of people's emails, phone numbers, addresses, and stuff like that. No crypto was lost, but a lot of personal detail. Ouch. SafeMoon CEO found guilty on all counts. I guess he's gonna be spending a nice chunk of his life behind bars. And speaking of fraud, Unicorn hit with SEC charges over 100 million fraud scheme. The US SEC charges Unicorn and executives with 100 million fraud scheme. Company allegedly misrepresented token backing and total sales figures. Executives claimed 3 billion in certificate sales despite raising only 110 million. Wow, there you go. It just doesn't stop. Unicorn, one of the biggest crypto exchanges out there. And some quick price predictions. I don't think that they're very out of this world. Bitcoin is predicted to hit, what do we got? Bitcoin to surge to $200,000. That's pretty much the standard prediction. We're looking at 130,000. I am going to remain skeptical based on my charts here. So in the last bull run, we had a double top in 2024, right? And so the difference in the price tag when Bitcoin basically hit its all-time high and then proceeded to hit another all-time high, that was a 6.79% change. And then it all went belly up and we went southwards. Now we've had, let's say that this is the top. If we were to project the 6.79% change, we'd be looking at a Bitcoin of about $116,000. And that's the game. That's what I'm looking at. Bitcoin at $116,000. Some already talking about 500,000 Bitcoin. I mean, this was talked about before, then it subsided. Now the noise is back, and I'd be very, very cautious of it for the reasons specified. We've had a nice run from the all-time high of 2021, $68,000. Now, if we hit 120, 130, that's double the price, and I think that's a comfortable price. If you want to be greedy and continue to hold on to the 200 or even 500,000, good luck with that. If the market turns bearish and you get stuck holding your bags for another 4 years, well, I don't wish that upon anybody. I'm done with that. This is my third bull run. I missed the first two for that very reason, because I was listening to the pundits. The first one, I was green. I had no idea what was happening. The second one, I was listening to all the pundits talking about $120,000 Bitcoin, which never solidified, obviously. This time around, I am wiser, I am smarter, I'm going to take my profits, take my gains, and then wait for the 2029 bull run. But so the price predictions are 130 for Bitcoin, Ether. Price prediction is at $3,000. Hopefully more than that, because $3,000 is not even the top all-time high. We don't care about XRP. BNB $745. Solana $210 to $220. Hopefully more than that as well. Dogecoin price prediction, we may be seeing a 35 cents Dogecoin. Cardano at $1. I mean, these are all price predictions that are well below the all-time high for these coins. So doesn't matter. We don't care. Not a very enlightening article, to say the least. Make sure to smash up the likes on this video. Subscribe to the channel. Pick up a Descent wallet right here. If you haven't, I've talked about it before. The only Descent wallet that is a biometric wallet, and it has a nice fat-ass display. You can pick up one of them with a $30 discount with the ref link from the CryptoFather channel, or if you buy two of them in a package, you can get a $99 discount for the very same wallet. Get them right now. Store your Bitcoin. Store over 3,000 cryptocurrencies on these biometric wallets. Don't keep them on exchanges, because exchanges are hit with hacks and scams all the time. Have a fantastic Thursday. I'll see you on Friday. Peace.